Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining. We'll dive in here into the content in the panel here in just a minute. But if you could post in the chat, maybe it's a number, maybe it's an emoji. We're here to talk AI and AI agents, but like, where are you at? Just trying to get a feeling for who we're chatting with today. Is this something brand new? Is this something maybe your job title's already defined by this? We got a couple of folks on our panel with that. So, seen some eights with a robot. Love that. A
Nice,
three.
Abe.
Okay. Yeah, like, all right, getting some. I love change management. So I expect a nice, healthy bell curve. If I don't see that, then I immediately assume there's an anomaly and there's probably a bot or an agent putting these numbers in. But no, I really appreciate you all. That's awesome. A lot of sevens. That's you guys. All right. There's a lot of people that should be leading this conversation besides me. Let's just say that in our audience, which is awesome. Cool. Keep putting that in. We'll give it one more minute. Let people come from their meeting that they're jumping from, maybe hitting the bathroom or grabbing a snack. Get something to drink, right? We'll get settled in here in just a minute. All right. Yeah, four, five, six, seven. Love it.
Solid spread.
Is that Bree, is that typical for your like agency? Do you think your team represents that curve?
We definitely have some high numbers, but we also have some low numbers. So yeah, I think it's a healthy spread here.
All right. And Mike, you're like actively building AI, so you're tailing on the front end, or on the back end?
Yeah, again, there's a wide range of people, and it's cool to see everyone join in the conversation because whether you're leading it and building it or I need to be on board with it's applicable to everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, let's dive in there because that's why we're here today. AI agents, like they're here, right? Maybe they're not as widespread in the marketplace than what we are anticipating or what we think, but they are actively being developed, actively working behind the scenes. And we're here to discuss that, what that means, and what that means in particular to agencies and professional service groups. And so before we dive into the panel, and I do want to get to them as quickly as possible because I think that's why you're all here. A couple of things, and I'm going to set the table. First and foremost, thank you to the panelists for being here. Even in running up into this event, it's been really fun to get to know them better, to hear about their passions and their different perspectives. And I'm hoping we can share some of that today. Two, thank you to all of you who have joined. This is the first of these events that we're putting together. We didn't know where it would land. So let's keep this conversational. Give us feedback. I love the posts already of where we're at. And that's really the intent is to say, Mike and Bree, you hit on it. We've got a broad spectrum here. We know that there's changes coming that may revolutionize how our teams work with themselves, right? Internally, how they work with their customers, and what their roles or jobs might even look like. And we don't mean that in a negative sense, but it's how do we actually get ahead of it as a community so that we can shape that together? And that's really the intent here. So again, really appreciate everybody joining here today. And so you might be saying, maybe if you're on the lower end of that spectrum of, yeah, I'm not sure I can use ChatGPT. Are there regulatory or security issues around that with my company? I don't know. There's a few studies out there, and Roots Analysis has been one of the leaders here in this. And these numbers, right? Of course, they're all forecasts. They're directionally maybe accurate. We can argue if they're going to be exactly this. But even if they're remotely true, we're about to get hit by a wave. And this multi-agent as well as single agent marketplace is something that, at least internally in representing Parallax, and we'll get there in a minute, like we talk about a lot because we see it impacting our customers, we see it impacting the industry, and we think we're at a tipping point to be able to bring together a lot of people who are really passionate about agencies, operations, professional services, delivering quality and having that creative talent, being that honing focus that is their differentiator, and enable them to own this destiny. Because I think if anybody is curious, we put some content together ahead of this on two parts. One is just definitions and level setting, but the other is the reason why there's a bullish approach to why agents are going to play such a big part and continue to grow is the likes of the Salesforces and the Microsofts are already there. And our intent is to say, let's not let them define this future for us. In fact, they're probably defining problems very differently than we are, and they're going to solve those very differently. And if we let them, they will eventually come to our problems. And let's try to bring a community together where we can say, hey, let's chat about these things, let's unify. We might still solve them differently with different agents, but understanding where we're going. And so that really brings us to the panel here today. I'll lead off here and then we'll go around the horn. But I'm Grant Hultgren. I work with Parallax. I'm their head of CS. In this capacity here today, I'm more here to learn. I've absolutely enjoyed working with a few of the members on our panel, but even more so getting to know them as well. And so I'm going to try to moderate, and we've got some just kind of conversation points. They're going to demonstrate some things. They're going to talk about their experiences. Please, like I said, feel free to interject with questions. Please feel free to say, oh, no, I disagree on that entirely. That is all really helpful feedback. And we'll dive in here. So first, Bree, I'm going to hand it off to you. You are with SmartLogic. You're their COO, 15, 20 person agency. Tell us one about yourself, and then tell us like what you hinted at before, like where's your organization at with implementing AI or agents, or like where is that in the spectrum?
Absolutely. First, thanks for having me. Super excited to be here. For those looking at that number wave in the beginning, I'm in the middle-ish round. I'm definitely not on the high end, so I'll definitely just self-diagnose myself there. I'm definitely not on the high end of things, looking to learn and absorb from our colleagues here on the call today. SmartLogic, we build custom web and mobile applications. So as you heard, we're a boutique agency, small but mighty. I think where we are with AI, I mean, it feels like the tsunami is here. It's big, it's exciting, it's coming on fast. I think, as COO, and I wear many different hats from sales to marketing to delivery, account management, staff, the kind of kit and caboodle there. I think my job is to figure out what kind of surfboard do we need to get? Is it a longboard? Is it a shortboard? So that I can get on that wave and really help our team figure out how can we ride that wave together, because it's here, it's staying, it's big, and it's hard to miss. So really trying to find ways where what makes sense and how can we do that in a responsible way.
We know people love change. So yeah, we're going to dive into some of those topics with you. Mike Vormans, you're Director of AI at Rocket 55. Tell us about your role, where your background, and then what's got you excited about AI. Your title is got AI in it.
Yeah, I have a background, a lot of web. So I've been doing web dev and other related things for 20 years. I ran my own dev shop for 10 of them. Yeah, I started moving into building AI related apps, software as a service sort of things. And now, I'm running the AI development at Rocket 55 and building out tools and services for companies to do that. I'm really excited because with that longevity in the web space, like it's just been such a my kind of half joking tagline was I was like, anything is possible. And now the like reality of that, like it used to be possible but impractical, but now like that curve has just changed so dramatically to like I can like functionally wireframe, prototype, build something in a weekend that would have taken months otherwise before. And so, now we can get to that's real. So I'm super stoked about that. And I think we're all going to have a lot of examples and experiences that share in some of that sentiment.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to dive into some of the tools that you've even built there. Jessica, you and I work together. You're Chief Product Officer over at Parallax. But prior to that, you have worked with companies that are built on products that are making hundreds of millions of dollars. Tell us some of your experience, but also what's changed even in the product world now with AI, and what are you seeing as opportunities or challenges there?
Yeah, so I think it's not an exaggeration to say that AI is every product leader's job right now. It doesn't really matter which company you're in. We are all doing that same sort of analysis of what are the problems that we've always wanted to solve, that we've never been able to solve, that we never really thought even would be feasible, and also doing the analysis of where does this make our current product like something that we just want to rethink from the ground up. It's so dramatic a shift. And I've been through a lot of shifts that sounded like they would be dramatic, but really never hit the way that AI actually has. This is just such a phenomenal tool set that I don't know any product leader that isn't simultaneously trying to figure out how to use it, trying to figure out what the tools are, trying to rethink their entire business model, trying to rethink their entire like product UI and experience all at the same time. And it is super exciting because we're shifting from being constrained by our development velocity and being able to get problems solved in front of people to being constrained by the ability for our customers to take the changes that we can now come up with, and trying to understand where those problems are that we've always ignored, always kicked the can down the road because they weren't really things that we could address beautifully, that we could address elegantly. So it's like a little bit anxiety provoking because it's just so fast, but it's also really a very exciting time to be in product. And I'm kind of grateful to be able to experiment with these things like at this time. It's just really fun.
That's awesome. And we'll dive into the product that you've been helping build that's in beta right now. Lastly, but not leastly, Rahul Bhajwani, thank you for joining. And in case it cuts out, Rahul's joining. We're trying to figure out internet for him and all that. But Rahul is the founder of Mati Labs, who helps actually bring these things to life. And really grateful that he was able to join. Rahul, so tell us just what you're doing at Mati Labs, and then are there common like pitfalls that people fall into? We've heard about the advantages a little bit, but some of the anxieties, what have you been seeing? Rahul,
Right.
yeah, there we go.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for the intro, Glenn. So yeah, at Mati Labs, we primarily focus on building end-to-end AI-powered products for businesses. My experience primarily comes sitting at the center of building AI products, which can be businesses, right? So prior to this, I was head of AI innovation at venture studio called 1848 Ventures, and I've been in AI space for a significant time. Yeah, to Jessica's point, I definitely look at this moment as very interesting moment in really transforming all products or all ways in which we interact with the digital world, right? Like all things are up for transformation or to be like thought differently because of this powerful tool that exists now, right? Before I actually touch on pitfalls, Grant, I also want to say one point that AI has been there for long, right? It's not that it's like a new thing, but what has happened is the power of the technology has just transformed significantly, which means that it can touch a lot more. It can solve a lot more problems, a lot more easier, right? That's what has happened over time. And that has made, and earlier also it was under the hood. It was like data science, machine learning. To me, they all are under the same umbrella of AI, which were enabling businesses to drive intelligent solutions. Now it is more in forefront and people can also see it and interact with it, right? And with that, and with the significant transformation, there's a lot of pitfalls that come in because of just the space moving so fast, right? I think there's a lot of noise. There's a significant overwhelm in everybody in the space about like, how do I even keep up with all these tools and new stuff coming up? Is my job at risk? There's a lot of sentiments that are coming along the way. I feel because of that and because of the need to be using AI or because of the need to be on top of the wave, it's that biggest pitfall I would say is that people going for a solution instead of solving a problem. In the end of the day, you are building business on top of a problem, right? You're solving a problem, and that's even if you hop on the wave of AI right now, but not use it right, you're gonna build something great, but it won't be successful eventually. So I feel that's a very important part. I know Jessica's gonna give an example of what's happening with Parallax, but that's one example where AI could solve a ton of problems. You have to be really specific on making sure that you are solving the real problem, right? And not just jumping on the wave for the sake of being on the wave. And AI is broad. It doesn't have to be just using a specific, let's say, ChatGPT, because the world is, right? Like AI can solve a lot of problems. Making sure being on top of problem instead of just top of solution is the biggest pitfall, I would say.
Cool. Yeah. And I think that leads us really nicely into, I'm going to stop the share, just into a conversation then. So we heard get really specific with the problem, but there's broad solutions here. Like, Bree, is that what your team's been encountering? Tell us how you've been interacting with this. Like, how have you come this far to say, hey, all right, here's where I'm at. You said I acknowledge that. That's okay. Where do you see bringing your team here at SmartLogic?
Yeah, so I'll be honest, my boss is super jazzed. His energy is infectious and it's coming from top down. Let's do this cool thing with AI. As COO, I'm like, okay, let's be a little bit strategic. So I think of integrating AI in three big ways. So the first bucket is probably the easiest to dip your toe into is how can I use AI to do my business processes? So I'm not gonna lie, I'm ChatGPT, hey, how do I write that email? Or hey, I want to write this sales email, or how do I do a follow-up or take meeting notes and summarize them really quickly so I don't have to rewrite the summary. So there's a lot of really easy ways just to get an entry foot in the door of using the tool to like how I do my business. Bucket two, getting a little more granular with our team. So it's like how can you build what we build using AI to be more efficient and effective? This is
Mhm.
one we're still noodling around. What are the legal implications? Do we have to update our MSAs and all that stuff? How much do you inform your clients? What tools do you use? When do you use the tools? But looking at where we build cool apps, that's what we do. So how do we do what we do, from delivery to project management to developing, designing to QA, the whole jazz? When does it make sense? I think your point is, don't come up with a problem. What is the problem you're trying to solve? So what is the internal efficiency we're trying to figure out? We're kicking around a way to dip your toe into that. We're thinking, could we leverage AI to do bugs finding, or could you do it to help you write some tests, or could you help it to, how do I approach this concept or this problem? Maybe AI has an answer to approach that CSV issue that you have, or whatever it might be. And so those are ways that we're mulling over to dip our toe into. And then, like, bucket three, the most complex. How do I build cool AI things? And I think when you're looking at that continuum, bucket one, two, and three, we're in the bucket one, bucket two, always wanting to dabble in the bucket three, but just like thinking what makes sense for us and where's that point of entry.
Yeah, I think you hit on some really important points, though. One is, we've talked a lot, so I know you're a very qualified leader. But in terms of going to your team and saying, you said, oh, does this align with security? Does it align with MSA? Like, giving them guardrails is really important. And because I think we're all on that curve differently, right? And you're going to have those folks that are really wanting to dive in and say, oh, I want to use AI for everything. And so, oh, the quality's not there yet, right? Then you're going to have the people that you could actually analyze all that data really quickly if you just formatted this. And they're like, nope, I want to do it myself. How are you like helping your team navigate that, like in those different phases?
So you're hitting us at a great time, because that's exactly what we're trying to crack right now. Step one was at the leadership level, this, having some shared understanding. We know we want to do some cool things, but what is it that we can do, should do? Bucket two, having a meeting with our attorney, going, what are the parameters? So we're looking at some language enhancements to our MDAs and MWs and all the legalese that we could
Yep.
bake it in there. And then looking to this quarter, we just did our quarterly planning meeting this week. And right on that docket, one of the rocks that we're going to be considering, we're an EOS company, is looking at coming up with what is our company's playbook, what is our guidebook, what is our North Star, if you will, of what tools do we want to use as a company that we agree on, how are we going to use them, to what extent are we going to use them. So coming up with that strategic way to leverage these tools is something we're currently in conversation with. And I think it's also like a little bit of blend. We're in a really cool state with AI where it feels like there's this community swimming pool and everyone is in the pool and it's free swim time. Some people are doing their best handstands, some people are doing their best mermaid. And like right now, some people are out there developing new strokes that no one needs even heard of yet, doing some cool things in there. And so it's a little bit of creative exploration. So how do we foster that creativity in our team? So I'm going to be, my team doesn't know it yet, but starting this like tiger team of those who want to meet and just talk about, hey, I did this cool thing this week, to just entice that creativity, but also making sure that our compliance, our legality, what we're doing is ethical and all that. I think it's that balance.
Do you make a bold prediction? How do you think AI is going to change your business in 1 to 3 years?
Oh, well, it's inevitable. I mean, I think efficiency. I think it's going to expand. I think it's going to make us do what we do better, quicker, more efficient, and ways we haven't even thought of yet. I think that's the really cool part, is it's the crystal ball of what our app's going to look like. I think it would be remiss if we didn't, as I said, the tsunami is here. So it's not going to, oh, the land's going to be dry. No, we're all going to get wet and it's going to be cool. So let's just find a way to go with the times. But I think automation is going to a big part of it. Agents and assistants are coming up in all different veins. So just thinking about starting from the foundation, what problems we really want to solve. How is this the right tool? I think is a really big consideration. Don't just do it for AI's sake, but does it make sense? Is this a good use case? And how do we know that? Are there metrics to measure the efficiency or the effectiveness or the expansion? Like, I think it's cool to be cool, but also have to be pragmatic and intentional about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think just even hinting from the themes that we did from around the horn to what you're saying, I mean, we heard that Jessica was saying like every product company is redefining their strategy or should be redefining their strategy. But you're even saying from, hey, we do services, right? We do web dev. I was looking at your site, Ruby on Rails, like all of these pieces are going to be impacted. Maybe not at a Ruby at Rails code level quite yet, but possibly, but more on all the pieces that go around that. I think it's gonna be really interesting for, yeah, you self-proclaimed boutique agency to see that adaption. And I think you're right. Me personally, yes, I'm biased. I also think you're closest to those problems. You also have a more manageable data set, frankly, be able to identify those problems and actually solve them, which I think is cool too.
The cool use of tiger teams, like, all right, let's do like a mini experiment. I just do a series of mini experiments. Let's try this out. That's the best way to learn, is sometimes you got to fail forward. And I don't know, I think it's just an innovative time. I'm excited because I'm feeling in my brain, my blood and my veins. There's a new word for you. And I'm just excited to see who on our team wants to be on that tiger team and what can we co-create together.
Yeah,
And then
and
share it out to other people. Let's share that information. Let's all help each other out. We're all navigating this together. And so, like, forums like this where we can share expertise and ideas, I'm all about that. Let's share it out and grow us all stronger together.
yeah, and I think Greg, you're hitting on it, right? Which can be a dark point, and I just want to address it. At what point will it replace us, right? It's going to help us. It's going to help us. It's going to help us. But what I didn't hear Bree say is like, how do I do so much more with one person, right? How do I just like sweat labor this thing out, right? There are values that you're bringing, Bree, along the way of taking care of your team, of bringing that true talent along. And I think that's a really important point for an agency of your size.
People first. And so I had a really great one-on-one with a team member the other day going, but is this going to replace us? Or I don't think it can. No, think of it this way. Think about those tasks that are the mundane tasks or the things that suck out your soul and energy. Like, I'd rather be paying you for your special sauce and that you get to do your special sauce all day. So, like, you come up with a cool architecture, you come up with a cool concept, and use these tools to help you get there in a more feasible way. So you're not drained out by some of the things that could have been leveraged with AI to do more efficiently. So you can do the cool things at the job. And I think learning how to navigate these tools. So when you say in the future, it's how do you evolve with them? And then how do you still cultivate your value alongside as well?
100%. Yeah, and I think even to that point, I think that's a good segue here into Mike. Mike, I want to bring up kind of what you've put together here for our presentation. And yes, I'm seeing some validation, right? Love this conversation. Like, these are the topics we've got to be talking about. Like, how do we understand and make sure that we're being good stewards of our team? Oop, wrong button. And ensuring too that along the way that we're bringing those people along, right? Like I said, no one's going to change, no one's going to adopt if they don't think it's good for them, right? Mike, like, we just heard Bree talk about this practical approach of like, all right, let's wrestle with this, right? Let's accept that change is coming. That can be really hard for some people. You're maybe a little bit further along with Rocket 55, but tell us where you're at.
Yeah, so we're working with all sorts of different groups, and yeah, there's different levels of adoption. The legality issues are there, the other things. I'm a little bit spoiled in my role as the intended output of stuff we're building is intended to have AI as a backbone of it, so it's not coming as a surprise. But there are those considerations yet. There are like fine print. AI makes mistakes. AI isn't perfect, and there's going to be that sort of thing, but where we see this going is a lot of those things of like, how can we make it take out those tedious things? Oh, like I had to do this thing where I looked up a zip code on a map and then I found the corresponding sales rep and then I got that rep back to them. And that's just a tedious sort of exercise that like, oh no, we can streamline this and we can also like make it conform not just to like a geographic distance, but to like another set of business rules that like, oh, how we round robin oscillate it to the right person and then whatever other things. And yeah, automate that, let, support reps do what they're good at, which is solving a little bit more meaningful of a problem, meaty of a problem.
Yeah, 100%. In preparation for this, and I know that we got another slide, but walk us through this natural language process here that you've gotten. Like, why do you think this is important for us to like understand and try to react to implementing some of this into our workflows or everyday kind of elements?
Yeah, I wanted to touch on natural language processing. Obviously, it's how like all of us probably got our first footing into it with ChatGPT. It was like, oh, cool. Like I can just tell it to write me a poem like Dr. Seuss or a little fun story or whatever else you might have run through with those first examples. But like the ability for it to be like, it's not a high bar for someone to like approach this. And that's where this whole agent mentality comes from, is anyone can interact with these tools in a way that is very intuitive to them. My kind of demo on this screen is if you were seeking to find a doctor through a current present day search on a hospital website, you have a laundry list of checkboxes and sliders and maybe distances and other things. And like how you search for it of, oh, I just know I need an EKG or I need whatever. And how you ask for that is going to widely differ. And classic search bars and other things might be like, no, you have to spell the word exactly right, or it's not going to match it. Or what language you speak is going to change how this works. The last example, if you're speaking a foreign language, it's going to be able to like run through that. And the point of this is that abstract thinking of like how you ask for that product or that service or that whatever is going to vary maybe by region, working with another group, whether it's ATVs and whether you call it a four-wheeler, an ATV, a quad, or whatever, that's all going to be like relevant and applicable, but how you search for it and how what you're trying to find is the same. And agents and LLMs are going to break down those barriers and allow you to find what you're looking for in a more successful way.
Yeah, and there's content in the LinkedIn group here around this, around the differences between LLMs and agents. I think you're touching on it a little bit. Raul also touched on it, but I think too, even in your experience, can we move on to the next slide? Is that cool?
Yeah, that's great.
Because I think exactly to the examples that you've got here, and these are all up on the web if you guys want to find them. There's nothing proprietary in these, Mike. They're all there. So go take a look is what I would say. But it doesn't need to be built from scratch. Like these were evolutions, Mike.
Yep.
And a hodgepodge of different technologies being brought together now. So walk us through like kind of these three agents that you've got that you've been in the marketplace with.
Yeah. So this is a screenshot from one of the toolings that we're working on, but it is that like agent mentality. And I think more things as we move towards the future are going to go this way with classically what we've done as developers and so forth is, we, as a developer, we take data we have and we API it to other data we need. And we API this and we connect these parts and pieces and whatever. And I think like the word API is going to get replaced interchangeably with an agent where it's, this agent talks to that agent and it knows what it needs to do. It knows how to talk to that API. It knows what it's going to interact with and what data it's going to save or set or retrieve or whatever. And that way, like the end user is allowed to go back to that natural language approach of, hey, I need to like, in this example, it's about data. It's all about like website data or traffic or sources, social, whatever it might be. And they're able to just use natural language and say, hey, what's my traffic look like? Or what are those ad campaigns doing or whatever else? And they're able to like start with the level they're at, and they don't have to worry about a lot of those behind the scene things that are interacting with one another to get to the data that they need. They already have their data sources. They already have that, and it can come in all sorts of different structures, and they can still use the language that makes sense to them to get the answers they're looking for. And yeah, I think there's a lot of that, whether it's search and chat and customer support and a myriad of different data sources to be applicable. CRM data is certainly in that mix too.
And Bree touched on this. Raul's going to touch on this, but these three agents that you've got, are they internal, right? So, hey, it's going to help my internal operations and my team. Are they customer facing or are they products, or now are they a mixture of all of them?
Yeah. The three you're talking about. So we have Base Intel, which is a site search chatbot. It's meant to integrate with all sorts of different tools. The goal of that is we can have people like replace out a search bar in their site or use a chatbot, and they're able to talk to it in natural human language. If you have a small product set with a lot of complexity or nuance to it, the chatbot can allow you to like help people interface with that and get to what they're looking for faster. If you have a very wide, diverse, like tens of thousands of products and a lot of structured data, it can be like, oh, I know exactly what comes in this diameter, this weight, this size, this whatever, and answer that question super quick and structured. The other one is this Area 55 tool, which is all about like pulling your data sources together. And we're actually going to lean into this for chatbot as well. So if we know what is converting at a higher rate than other products, or they came off this ad campaign and we know we should serve them up this because they're likely looking for that based on what they search for, we're able to lean into these kind of interchangeably. And then internally, we're building tools probably similar to what Bree was talking about too. What can we do for our sales team to automate some of these tedious tasks? And it's not to do their job for them, but it's, I know as a developer, I was like, I spent way too much time trying to think of what I should call this function. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what I should call it. But yeah, helping them get like directionally there in their tone of voice, make sure we've captured all of the notes and the objectives and the details of a meeting. We have tasks set up for it, and we're getting people what they want as timely as possible without wasting hours. I just need to re-listen to this whole transcript to make sure I didn't miss that detail, that sort of stuff. So
and I love this because these are practical agents out there right now. They're built on evolutions of products that you already had that you knew. Yeah, it's, oh yeah, this is what we're trying to solve.
Yeah, exactly. Starting with that problem and knowing this is where we're starting with, and now how do we augment it?
And now it's fuel on the fire, right? Like now we can really do more. And I think that's really cool. And so I think even for our audience, like as you're thinking about, hey, what are those problems that we could start to solve with this? It doesn't have to be a brand new problem, right? Go back to the well. What is that thing that keeps nagging at you? That's okay. So no, I really appreciate that, Mike. That's awesome. Jessica, I'm going to jump to you because we're going to do, I think, a demonstration of what you've been working on. But why don't you like tee it up for us?
Sure. Yeah, this is actually, I think Bree teed it up for me. And Mike, you just teed it up for me again. This is perfect. So Parallax, strategic resource management for digital agencies. This is a space that is ripe for AI to be able to solve problems that we have not been able to solve as well in the past. So we were looking for exactly what's already been mentioned. What are like the things that are preventing people from being strategic? What are the things that are just taking up time, and how can we use this new tool to save that time for our customers and also improve the value of what the Parallax product is able to deliver for them? So basically what we decided on for our first AI agent, trying to keep things like super narrow. What's a super narrow problem that an agent is going to be well suited to solve because it's a low bar for interaction. It's a flexible problem. Many different things might be going wrong. And it's something that's creating a lot of friction and a lot of time waste in our user base. And what we came up with is updating ETC hours. Like, what a pain. And we are a company that relies on the accuracy of those ETC hours. If you don't know what the future hours are on a plan, all of that forecasting is not great. It's not really giving you a good picture of where you're going to land or what you need to do differently. And it's really not the favorite part of everyone's job, from what I've learned in the user interviews that we've been doing. These are difficult conversations that PMs are having with all of their team members. They're time consuming. Many of them are just that. They're just tedious. There's not a lot of discussion that needs to happen. It's literally just, I just need you to tell me if this is the right number of hours for you to have for the next couple of weeks. Just click the box, just say yes. And every once in a while, I need you to tell me, and the answer is, I don't know. And you have a deeper conversation there between the PM and the team member on what is the right number of hours. So this felt really well suited to an agent and LLM combo. And that's what we've done for our first agent. We're just calling it an agent, but it does have some LLM smarts behind the scenes, which I think are what give it that really nice flexibility to solve many blockers for people. So the MVP use cases, it can give you an overview of the projects that you're working on. It gives you the weekly breakdown of your hours. It can help you balance those hours, which is always a problem. One of the things that I love is it combines some of that LLM magic. So it can also give you estimation assistance. So these are team members. They're not people that are trained on how to be able to effectively say how many hours they need to do for a certain task. And it's a different task every time. It's difficult to break those things down, especially if you're newer to that space. ChatGPT and all of these LLMs are really great at that sort of thing. So having that power together with being able to update those hours right back into the system seamlessly is a really big time saver. It can do impact assessment, and then it also does approval routing, because Mike, you already mentioned like AI is not perfect. The last thing that we want to do is cut the PMs out and have all those updates just going straight through. That's not that these conversations exist for a reason. So we're keeping the PM in the loop and we're having the approval routing go through them. I can kind of actually share where we are.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm going to stop sharing while you're bringing that up. And I know the answer to this because you and I work together. But what was impressive to me in this is you joined in November of 2024. You did how many customer interviews?
We probably about 20 something customer interviews, and they are still going. So I've lost track.
and so since November till now, we have an AI agent. Yeah. All right. So show us. Let's see what it can do.
It's pretty, and it's not just that there is an agent. It's what Mike was talking about before. Like if you have people on your team whose native language is not English, like they can just use this and it will get accuracy of those ETC hours naturally. If you have folks that are traveling, this is a chat-based interface, so it's responsive. You can do it on your mobile device. All these things that would have taken months of additional work to try to get your UI to be what it needs to be on different devices because of the way that the chat interfaces are like leveraged with a lot of the AI tools. It just really streamlines the path to value, I think, pretty significantly. I'm getting too excited about it. So let me just show you. So basically I logged in, I'm a team member. So I'm asking like how it asks me, how can I help with your hours? Need to know, deals with all of my typos I am working on this week and how many hours I have. I think Mike mentioned the whole, what if I phrase this in one of 20,000 different ways? What if I capitalize, don't capitalize, stick some Spanish in there? It's okay with all of that. It would not be okay with my Spanish. Don't try it too hard, but it can do the other stuff. So here it's telling me I've got these 5 projects that are active. The total planned hours on active projects is 50. That's not great. I think I need to drop my hours on Delphi by 10, let's say. And give it a reason. The other nice thing about this is we're asking for reasons for every change, which is something that is really going to help people learn why things change on a project, how they change over time, and it will also help our agent get smarter about suggesting things in advance before the train goes off the rails, so to speak. So now it's giving me my analysis. Oh, my total planned hours is still 130. That significantly exceeds my recommended 40. This could lead to overload. So it's asking me, that's because I have a bunch of hours that are on projects that have not yet started, but where I am planned this week. So it'll help with that too. I'm just going to say, proceed anyway. And off it goes. Oh, I need a reason. Okay. Initial estimate was too high. Oh. There you go. And it's going to package up this change and submit it over to the project owner. They're going to be able to log in, see this change along with all the other changes, and they can either approve it or reject it. The other thing that's really nice about this agent is like, I also need, is it can help me with my estimations to do wireframes. Let's see if we can figure that out. So I can just ask it questions like,
So this is the LLM side of things. There's a question here. It's like, what's the difference between an agent and an LLM? Which is a great question. The agent component of this is interacting with a Parallax API. And exactly, Mike, to your point, is those might actually just be agents in the future, but there's almost an executive level of decision making relative to some of this or routing that's occurring. Am I getting that right, Jessica?
You are correct. Yep,
So
that's exactly right.
That's a big core difference between an LLM and an agent, and why oftentimes, even in Mike's examples, and we're going to talk to Raul here too, but like how these get bundled together. Or you could have machine learning because that could only help inform some of these models even more.
Yep. So that's the idea. Like it can really help with a lot of broad different things related to work. And as it gets smarter over time, this is the other thing that's super important about all of these agents. I would imagine that many of them, including this one, are starting out pretty basic. They don't have a ton of context on your business or you or the projects. Over time, we'll be developing more of that context. Their recommendations, their predictions are just going to get more accurate, and they'll be able to help with more and more of those complicated conversations that have to bounce back to individuals today. So that's the overview. I don't want to take up too much time of what we're working on over here. This is in beta. So as I mentioned, it's got some work to do, but we're really excited about where it might go. And you can see that the sky's the limit for agents in this space in general.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, Jessica. Well, walk us through, like, we saw Jessica just demonstrate a very specific use case here with Maslow's. We talked about Mike and his products. We talked to Bree, who's saying, the wave's coming. Like, how are you helping organizations navigate all of that appropriately?
Primarily, as I was thinking here, what I want to touch on as people think about agents, and I briefly touched upon it in the beginning as well, that at like SmartLogic, you're also thinking in that same sense. There's 3 broad groups, I would say, where agents can help businesses, right? And the 3 broad groups that I would, first one is like just agents to optimize the business operations, right? Like areas where the agents can just help make the current business better, right? And that could be like routine tasks, mundane tasks, customer support, sales, lead gen. There are a lot of like work that's happening where there could be like prepackaged agents that could be bought, or you could build custom agents for a specific problem, but agents that could really help run the business better, right? That's one area where I would definitely encourage businesses and agencies to explore the power of AI agents, right? And then the second group here is primarily around augmenting your core expertise with agents, right? So let's say it's a marketing agency, you're serving a specific niche set of clients, and you understand that business better, you understand those clients better, right? Building certain agents that work with your personalized workflow, that integrates with your workflows, that helps you target or create content very specific to the expertise that you have gained, right? So that's the space where you are building these internal agents, which are augmenting your internal expertise and ultimately helping you expand more, right? Ultimately helping you serve more business and run faster, right? So that's what I would say, almost like a AI augmented agency in a way, right? And the third bucket I wanted to mention was where you want to productize some of your internal agents or even other agents as a product to be sold to an external world, right? So those are the three buckets of how businesses can think of agents and how the agents can help the current business from the operational end, current business from augmenting the core expertise to also launching your own agents as products. So I just want to touch on that with this slide. And then also maybe like through a decision factor that it could be, of course, different set of things that could go into that while you decide what's right for you, including the implementation ease or the competitive advantage, to things like what is the immediate ROI you're looking for or the strategic plan for the business, right? So that's one thing. And then as you think about agents and how to bring these agents to your business, another question would be like, do you want to build in-house or do you want to outsource with an external firm, correct? And of course, the middle ground being partnership with a firm. So there are, of course, very kind of obvious points probably, right? Like building in-house, you will have the complete full control. You have domain-specific pivots that you can make versus if you're going fully outsourced, you have access to specialists that are working in the space, or you have like production-grade systems, and you can be on top of the ever-changing fast wave of AI technologies that are constantly coming in, right? So that's the different ways that you could go in, choose for. And of course, the trade-off there or the decision factors would be same thing. Do you have the internal capacity, right? If you have the internal team, is it for a strategic advantage, or is it more of a immediate ROI that you're looking for? Is there a long-term vision for you about all these agents that you're planning to bring into your business? Based on those factors, you could brainstorm on which bucket of these three broad areas you want to innovate with AI agents, and also which approach that you want to use to build or explore those AI agents. So that's what I wanted to broadly touch on. Of course, at Mati Labs, we definitely help build AI agents for businesses. Definitely always there to help if anybody wants to explore building agents with us. But yeah, that's primarily the point that I want to put here.
And Raul, though, so one of the reasons of like we're passionate about this and why we see an opportunity though is if you're a smaller organization, the leg up you should have is a more defined, tighter data set. Is that right? Because, and how do you help organizations navigate that and understand? Because there's generally some, I would imagine, some data hygiene or understanding that still needs to go in there.
100%. I would say data. I would rather use the word expertise or the niche, right? Because if I go to this previous slide right here, the core expertise augmentation, depending on the agencies, you have a specific niche on the work that you're doing, right? And because you have the niche, you have the data around that. Let's say you have data around different clients that you have served and how you have served them, or you have the expertise within your own team that can be replicated into these agents, right? And of course, having access to specific data that you can really fine tune these agents is super valuable, right? That's how you make domain specific agents. And the era that we're going in is very niche domain specific agents that are solving core values, like a suite of agents that are talking to each other, like Mike mentioned. So
yeah, that's super helpful. And I think back to like when I was CEO of a couple agencies and like how it just can be so overwhelming, right? How do you get that domain expertise and say, oh no, that's definitely us. That's what we're going to double down on. Otherwise, if we don't, we're going to be left behind. I think it's really important to have someone like you or your team to help just guide through that. Otherwise, it just can get to be a lot. All right, we are getting close to on time. I'm able to pull up my slides here. So thank you, Raul, for sharing that. I'm going to go back here to our slideshow and jump here to the end. Couple things here. So one is just quick call to action. There's a little QR code we got up here. a LinkedIn group that if you are saying, oh, that was really nice to scratch the surface on every one of these topics, but oh man, they missed this big topic that we should have talked about, please join, please post in there. This group is in there, so you could just interact with them directly. If this is helpful, if there's something you think we missed, like I said, please let us know. By all means, too, we can take questions now if people are saying, hey, I'm really thinking about this or scratching my head on that. Post them in the chat, get them in the Q&A, and happy to put them to the panel now. But I know that was very quick. I want to say thank you again to the panel for their time and jumping on, their expertise. There's a lot here that changes on a very regular basis. And I just hope that the folks that were able to join today, one, found this helpful, and two, we can start building a community that we can have these ongoing conversations, whether they're in content, whether they're in more webinars. Like, you all tell us how this could play out. While this is going, though, I'm curious, Raul, tell us oh, wait, we got a question. How are you working through security barriers and that may prevent adoption of AI agents in federal government? Ooh, anybody tackled that one? I come from HIPAA, and that is just a real nice ball of red tape. Here, I think Bree touched on it, frankly, right? Bring the experts into play. If you have a lawyer, make sure you're looking at your MSA and your contracts. Definitely make sure as a business that you understand where the risk and vulnerabilities are and where those gates are. Generally, one of the groups I worked with, we got acquired by a health insurance group. We got put under their health insurance, their liabilities umbrella. And let me tell you, those walls went up very quickly of what work we could and couldn't do. What I think, again, is the benefit here of a smaller organization, even if you're doing federal government work, is understanding what the data is that you're touching and where those interaction points are. And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be held back either. It just means I think you have to be a little more intentional. Good luck, though. Very good question, Crystal. And Mike, I saw you came off mute. What do you think?
Yeah, and I think there's maybe just some things, again, not speaking from the lawyer side, everything Grant said is still 100% valid, but there are some things that like we were doing in our space as well of what you pass to the language model. Maybe you're considering a self-hosted language model instead then. Maybe you're considering something that just ends up writing queries and doesn't actually synthesize it. So it doesn't actually have access to the data. That might be a sensitivity issue. In contrast, it's able to just help provide the structure to answer a question that something more pragmatically can do down the road too. And again, your specific use case might still have to go through the red tape as touched on, but there might be creative ways you can get around some of the bigger liabilities that would come in with that.
Just adding on to that real quick, this wasn't federal government experience, but I have built AI for ed tech and large educational agencies with student data. And it was all about what Mike and Grant just mentioned. It was like knowing which tool you're using and what sort of certifications and protections they have in place, knowing how you're using that tool and making sure that you're always protecting all the data as much as humanly possible, and having all the documentation on all of that people are signing off on every single time they're agreeing to use your tool. And between those three things, we weren't able to get absolutely everyone, but we were able to get as far as we reasonably could. And over time, I would imagine that those last holdouts, it will have to change over time. So that was a good enough start for us.
And this is a good one too. This might actually be another topic for another webinar, but we'll end on this one. How are we going to build for this? If you're time materials right now and you're building agents and you're providing value, how do you build for it? How do you build your customers? Who wants to take that one? Mike, I saw you came off. Go ahead.
I'll jump in. I'm obviously happy to let others chime in too. But yeah, a lot of this tends to be a little bit more of a subscription model or retainer style model, because intrinsically, most of these agents and LLM approaches will have a recurring fee, whether it's based on usage and whatever else. So it depends. If the client technically owns that side of it, then it might not impact you. But a lot of times, whether it's the maintenance or the improvement or the evolution or whatever, it seems logical that it would stay on a more subscription model sort of service, because yeah, you'd have fees incurred by that with usage in itself.
I think one of the topics too, though, is Bree, let's imagine you have a suite of agents that make your team 50% more efficient. Can you still bill your billable rate that it's at now? Like, have you thought about that?
Oh, I have thoughts, but I don't know what the answers are. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And I might look at this video a year from now going, "Ooh, that was a horrible sentence." But I think I want to deliver value. And so the more value that we can deliver for our partners, the better. And maybe our rate stays the same, but we're delivering a heck of a lot more, or we're able to do it more efficiently and more effectively. And so I don't know what those models look like. I think we have to, and we're, as I said, we're in that middle range number. So we're just dipping our toes in and just starting to experiment. And I don't know, hit me up in a year.
Yeah, no,
We'll see where we are.
I'm not asking for all the answers. I think it's a great question.
It's a great
response.
question.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a great response, though, right? You got to wrestle with it. Are we delivering more? Are we delivering value? What is it that is benefiting our end customer? And therefore, what are they willing to pay, right? Though it's all market based. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it also comes down, and also there's some integrity. It's like, I don't expect my team to always build everything. If we're exploring and experimenting, that I don't know, that feels a little wrong to that be on the client's dime. And so I think you've got to, as a company, think about what are you willing to invest to upskill and grow your team and grow your team skills. And so there's got to be some internal time, professional development time that you're willing to invest to get those skills to elevate at some level, for sure.
Absolutely. Raul, you came on mute. You want to take us home?
Yeah, I just have some more points on that. That's a very definitely a brilliant question, and also something which is on top of the mind for a lot of people, because I feel like that space is in some ways up for change, right? Because of course, times and materials has been the way to build for agency and also for these AI agents as a product. There are a lot of things that are being experimented with, including, let's say, task-based payment, right? Where, let's say, agent completes a task, you're going to pay the agent model for that. So yeah, it's almost similar to Mike's a SaaS model, but the pricing is dynamic based on how much you use the agent for, right? And they're like AI credits and agent credits. There are a lot of like platforms are launching as well. So there's a lot of work happening all over the place to really come to a consensus of where the world is going to go in that space, and including a project-based pricing for agencies could be like for certain scenarios where it's not only time material, because the value that you're providing to the end client is still staying the same, or you're probably even doing better because you're doing it faster. It's going to be just, it's a new space which is up for change. That's the only thing that I wanted to kind of bring up.
100%. Yeah, no, we are at time. I want to say again, thank you everyone who joined, and especially our panelists. I had a blast. I really appreciate all your opinions and perspectives. If you found this helpful, find us on LinkedIn, tell them in person, whatever it is. But thank you, everybody. Hopefully more to come.